Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm your host, Rob Younts, and thank you for tuning back into the CaneCast show. If today's your first episode, you're in for a treat. If you've been with us before, well, we really appreciate you coming back. Either way, in today's guest, you will hear from an MLB All-Star. But before we get into that, I'd like to ask a favor of you. We really need your help in growing the show. How can you do that? Well, first, give us a like. Smash the like button. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast host, smash that like button. Or you can drop us a comment to let us know what you think about the show. Tell us what you like and what you don't like. You can help us grow the community by subscribing. That lets others know that this show is legit. 4, you could show us some love with a review. Put it in your own words. 5, share it. Send this to your friends and enemies who are missing baseball right now. We know there's a lot of people like that, and wouldn't it pay off just to be nice? Today we're talking to an MLB All-Star who was always told he was too small when he was in high school, which made him work harder. He was overlooked during the recruiting process for his entire career with the Canes, which made him work even harder. He finally earned a scholarship his senior year and worked even harder. He turned himself into an absolute dude. He's an MLB All-Star and was a frontrunner for the AL Rookie of the Year last year until an injury shut him down. Of course, we are talking about Tampa Rays second baseman Brandon Lowe. Listen to B-Lowe talk about his motivation and the hard work it takes to become a Major League Baseball player. So buckle up and be ready to hit that 3-1 fastball into the upper deck, just like Brandon. Everybody, Rob Younts here with CaneCast. Today we have a very, very special guest. I've known this guy since he was really, really small. Like, I think I started coaching him when he was 12. He went through the Canes organization. He is a Canes alum, graduate of Nansemond River, went to University of Maryland, and now he is a second baseman for the, for the Tampa Rays. Brandon Lowe, how are you, buddy?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. I've known you for a long time. Known your family for a long time. So why don't you bring everybody up to speed, kind of, I guess, how your baseball journey's going so far. I guess take it all the way back to Nansemond River and maybe even before that, and bring everybody up to where you are now.
Man, it's been a long one for sure. Dealt with a lot of naysayers, I'd have to say, especially when I was younger and trying to get into college and stuff like that. I'd always been told I was too small, too slow, and getting into my sophomore year of high school, any pro scout I'd ever seen said I was too small and I wouldn't play pro ball. So I had a lot to deal with through that kind of perspective, but I had everything that I needed growing up. I had access to facilities and stuff like that, and I don't think I'd ever spent more than a couple hours inside. I always wanted to be outside playing baseball or playing football and stuff like that. And I think that really helped me develop a good, hand-eye coordination and stuff like that to help me become a better ball player. But what really took me to the next level was getting to Maryland and getting in that structured program of, weightlifting, and then meeting with a dietitian to tell me what I needed to do to gain weight and build muscle and stuff like that. And man, in a span of 4 years from my freshman year of college to my first year of being out of being in pro ball, I think I gained probably 35 pounds. And I think that was a huge key for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember, I just remember you always being able to hit, man. You were always the hardest worker on the field. You always had a great swing, and I think that, that goes back to having two coaches. I mean, as far as your work ethic goes, two coaches for parents and an older sister that was pretty darn good at whatever she put her mind to. Talk about your family's influence on your game so far and what they mean to you.
I mean, they're everything. I talk to them daily, just, staying in touch with them. We're all over the country at the moment. My sister actually just took a new job as a head coach at RPI, which is phenomenal. I mean, she's one of the youngest coaches to be a head coach right now, which is absolutely incredible. But I mean, growing up, I always had my sister was bigger, faster, and I couldn't lose to my sister in anything. So I always wanted to be better, and I was competitive. And then my dad being an athlete, my mom was an athlete, and anything we did, it's not like my mom and my dad didn't roll over and be nice to me when I was little. Playing video games or board games or whatever it may be. They were there to win, and it really took root with me. Is now I'm the same way as there. I'm uber competitive. I want to do everything the best that I can against the best people in that field, and everything is kind of credited to them. The way they brought me up and the way they've done everything. I couldn't be more thankful for what they've done.
Yeah, and the older you get, and I know everybody tells you this, but the more you remind me of your dad and your demeanor and in the way you handle things, and that's truly a compliment, because I think he's I still talk to him today. I think he's a great coach. Does a great job over there at Danson River with Coach Stufel, and I see a lot of the way that you handle things. You have both their personalities, but I see you really kind of every now and then I see you on the field, and I was like, wow, that kind of looks like. That kind of looks like Tom. But tell me about your high school experience. I know, we'll get to the adversity and people writing you off, but, tell me a little bit about your team there at Danson River and what you learned in those 4 years.
Man, I'd even go back a little farther. Thankfully, the way the school ran things, stuff like that, you could have managers or people to help out, in 7th grade. And so I was able to be around the varsity team and kind of help out, with equipment gear and stuff like that. And, just be around that competitive nature, see how those guys worked that were 3, 4, 5 years older than me, and, take BP with them, something like that, just to, be around them. And as I was going through, I really believe that, I came through Danson River at the best possible time, for my sake. We had, before I was with the Canes, we were the Suffolk Warriors, and that whole group of guys, I think we brought in 6, 7, 8 guys from that team that were all in the same grade. We came up in 8th grade, we were all on junior varsity, and in 9th grade, most of us made varsity, and 10th grade, everybody was back on varsity. And, it was just great to be a part of, that team in general, and, being able to play with guys for as long as I did.
Yeah, you guys were really close and, got together, got along well, but you also played really well together. I mean, very talented guys. A couple guys went on to play in college and do some really cool things. With your dad being out there, are there any times, we have, so just so the way we are now with the Canes is we still have our showcase teams and things like that, but we also have some youth teams. So there's a lot of, probably at the youth level, there's more of kids that have, maybe their dad's one of the coaches or something like that, where how did you navigate that with your dad? Because I know he had he was he knows his stuff, but
right.
Every now and then he's your dad and you don't want to listen to him. I mean, how'd you navigate that?
I think he kind of navigated it for me. I think he handled it in the best possible way, where he, was Coach Lau when you need to be Coach Lau. And other than that, he made Stufel. I feel like Stufel yelled at me the most. And, when my dad did yell at me, I was like, oh, I really did something wrong. Right. He wouldn't have been yelling at me. So I think in between the lines and, more inside that fence, it's not, you can't look, I don't know that I looked at him as dad. He was a coach. He was that authority figure. He knew more than me. And, I needed to listen to what he had to say.
Yeah, and I think, looking back on it, you did a really good job of that. I mean, I know he handled it well, but for you, if people didn't know you two were related, you really couldn't tell. There wasn't favoritism. There wasn't any kind of sniping back and forth. Whenever he told you something, you handled it really well. So you brought that up. You made it through with your Suffolk Warriors team, and you get to high school, and, then we kind of jump together as the Canes. Talk a little bit about your experience there, during the summers and falls with the Canes.
I mean, that was probably some of the best baseball, if not the best baseball that I could have been a part of at that time. It was looking up and down that lineup was absurd to, look at the guys that were committed to places, the guys that were uncommitted at the times. I mean, it was where you wanted to be, especially, as somebody that wanted to be around the best competition available. And the coaching staff that we had with, Petties and everybody else that we had were, it kind of took it to that next level, that your high school coaches had this, and then you kind of had every coach that you had on the summer ball level kind of added on to it. And every coach that we had with the Canes, they didn't look at you and say, well, your high school coach knows nothing. It was like we kind of just built upon what your high school coaches taught you. And, you kind of go back and forth with what you learned there and what you were learning with the Canes. And they were very, I'm trying to think of the right word here. They were very understanding is kind of a poor choice of words, but, they knew how to take what they were teaching and what they wanted to teach and kind of mold it all together. And made you a much better ball player.
Yeah, I think that's really accurate. And I've always been impressed with the way that all of our coaches inside the organization, it's really meant to supplement and to add to a player's experience and to add to their another tool to their toolbox, to give them a little bit more. It's never been, at least when I've been a part of it, it's never been high school coach versus travel coach. It's always been, hey, how can we help this player get better? Mm-hmm. And you've always stood out, at least in my eyes. I mean, I know, we talk about, some of the adversity that you faced. I think what sticks out to me most was when Coach Vaughn came to me. And I think I might have told you this before. We were sitting in Jupiter, and we're sitting in golf carts together, and he looks at me and goes, all right, Rob, you got to tell me, why is nobody recruiting this guy? Because you had just blistered a ball and blistered a ball into the wind, and you were just hitting everything hard. And I looked at him and I said, Coach, I don't know. And he goes, he's our type of guy. And I'd like to, I was looking and doing a little bit of preparation because I didn't remember. I know you went to a couple of PG events or at least one showcase. And this always makes me laugh. And I'm sure it's a bit of motivation for you. But do you remember your PG ranking?
Man, they did not like me. They did not like me at all.
Remember what your rating was?
I couldn't even tell you what
it was. A 7.5.
All I remember is I think that the equivalent to what I got was like high D3 player, something like that. And I remember reading that and like shoving myself away from the computer and being so frustrated that that's what came out.
The interesting part of that is the way that you've tunneled that, the way that you've harnessed that. There's a lot of guys out there that could take it and kind of take it in a negative direction. You've always been the type of guy that just puts it in your back pocket, says, okay, I'm going to show you. And so you did that. You got, that conversation with Coach Vaughn ended up turning into a spot at University of Maryland. And, I remember checking up on you, and I gave him a call, right, I guess probably about a month before the season, and just checked up in the fall. He's like, man, this guy's so good. He's incredible. And then check up with him right before the season. He's like, Rob, this guy's so good that, we got to hit him in either the 1 or the 2 hole to make sure he gets enough at bats. So, talk about that. When you stepped onto campus at the University of Maryland, as a guy, you went from somebody that was overlooked to now we've got to find a way to give him more. I know you put in the work, but how was it when you walked onto campus, when you set foot onto campus?
So it was actually pretty weird because I was actually recruited by Eric Backage at the time. And that summer before we came in, the whole coaching staff changed. Chef came in as the head coach, Vaughn came in, and Bellinger. And those were our 3 coaches, and we had never met them. We didn't know what their game plan was, anything like that. And I remember going in right after, I want to say it was the Arizona tournament that we played with the Canes. And I remember getting hit in the hand and going in on campus and going, I have to start hitting to earn a spot, and my hand still hurts. So safe to say that I'm pretty sure I might have had one of the worst falls of all time in collegiate, history. I'm not even sure I got a hit, but I did whatever I could in the weight room. Got stronger, did everything I needed. Winter break was a godsend, I feel like, and then we came back in January, and I was healthy. I felt great. I was hitting everything everywhere, and it finally got to a point where I thought I was making a really good impression. And then, sure enough, 2 days before the season starts, I'd go and I tear my ACL. And got a call the next day after I went in and got MRIs and stuff like that. And it was Chef telling me that I was going to start Friday night against LSU. And just broke a 18-year-old kid that had just learned that he was going to be a starter.
Right. As a freshman, as a true freshman walking in there and also having just a bad fall. So again, another setback, you found out that you were going to be the guy. And how did rehab go, man? How did that go? I mean, that was unexpected, you're all of a sudden just out of the blue. I think you caught a cleat or something like that.
So I actually still joke with Chef about this today, and he actually brings it up all the time, is we're inter-squatting right before our last, in our last practice of the year before the season started, and we, pitcher gets the last out of the game. We're about to, take it in, and Chef runs out and goes, hold on, guys, you want to do one more at bat. And kid gets up, ground ball at the middle, tips off the pitcher. I try to cut back and blow out my knee. And, terrible thing to happen, but, freak accident and nothing you could have done to prevent it. I mean, it's
right. I mean,
come
on.
But, looking back on it, who knows? I might have sucked that freshman year and could have ruined everything for me. So rehab was, it was 7 months of doing stuff every single day and, doing anything to get better. And I remember they gave me this machine to help me bend my leg because, when they do the surgery, they put you in a straight brace and you're not allowed to move anything for, God, I don't even know how long it was, probably a month. You're not allowed to move your leg or something like that. And once they got it, they knew that the ligament had set, it was time to start moving your legs, start to try to get range of motion. And I remember clear as day, I'm sitting in a training room with, 3 other football guys that had just had their 6 months out on their ACLs and stuff like that. And our trainer looks at me and goes, Brandon, if you can't get your legs straight, I'm going to sit you in between these 2 tables. Your heel's going to be on that table and your butt's going to be on this table. And I'm going to sit on your knee until it's straight. It terrified me.
Yeah.
I was like, that's all I need to know. And I maxed out the machine in 4 days. I learned how to sleep in it. I was making sure that that guy was not going to sit on my knee. Turns out he wouldn't actually sat on my knee, but
that was motivation enough, right?
Yeah, it was effective. And, but no, it was a very smooth rehab, and thankfully with everyone that we had in Maryland, I was playing again in 7 months.
Yeah. So any swings while you're in rehab? I mean, I know you can't use your lower half, but if I know you were doing something, at least doing a lot more than what you were capable of, or should have been diagnosed as or prescribed, let's say.
Yeah, I don't think. I think I came up to my trainers about 4 or 5 months in, and just told I was like, I can't not do anything anymore. Like, can I do something? And they're just, you can't turn on it. You can't do anything. So if you can think of something that you can do, sure. So I sat on a bucket with my leg out straight and just hit balls off the tee. That's all I was trying to do is it was baseball activity again, and that's all I wanted to do.
Yeah, I'm sure. So you had a pretty good year that following year, huh? At Maryland?
Yeah, not bad.
A little bit. Tell a little bit. So I know you're not a bragger. I know you're not somebody who's going to talk about yourself. I can just see your body language when I make you do it. But tell everybody kind of how it went at Maryland from there.
Yeah, it was freshman All-American and third team All-ACC that year. And I think I hit 1 home run. Opening weekend in Florida, I was healthy, and I hit the home run in like the bottom of the 8th or something like that, or top of the 8th. And
top of the 8th, yep.
I think the next weekend or 2 weekends prior, I tried to steal second base and slid in and messed up my thumb. I jammed my thumb into the base, tore the ligament, chipped the bone, and was, distraught. I thought the year before was bad, but I made it through a 7-month rehab. I was finally healthy. I was doing well, and all of a sudden this happened, and I was in shambles, sitting in our student union with my mom before I went and got another MRI in my hand. And oddly enough, this guy came up. This one of the things that sticks out, anytime anybody ever talks about, people being good people or religion or anything like that. And, this guy came up out of nowhere. It was just walking through it's our student union, which is 14 restaurants. There's hundreds of kids in there at all times. And, this guy came up to me and my mom and said, "You guys look really sad. Would you mind if I prayed for you guys?" And at the time, I'm, 19, 18-year-old kid. I'm, praying's not going to do anything for me. This is going through my head at the time. And, my mom's like, "You know what? Yes, please. Like, please, anything that you can do for us would be great." And the guy puts his hand over my thumb and starts praying to, prays that everything's going to be okay, that, I'll be fine, not need surgery or anything like that. And at the time, I'm going to need these. I'm getting surgery. It's not a question. Like, I've seen the injury before. And we get into the doctor's office, and the doctor MRIs me and comes back in with this kind of puzzled look on his face and goes, "Oh, you don't need surgery. Somehow the way that you broke the bone and frayed your ligament all at the same time, the bone chipped up and caught the ligament."
Wow.
So the ligament's still attached to your bone, and when your bone heals, it's going to pull the ligament back down. So you're really not going to need surgery. All you got to do is tape it up and, make sure you don't bend it again. And I ended up playing through the rest of the year. Hit 330 or something like that, and haven't really looked back since. And always think of that time. Always think that day comes up all the time in my thought. Just sitting at home thinking about stuff.
That's good. That's very good. Yeah. It takes a lot for an 18, 19-year-old kid who just had that accident to have that perspective of, oh, wow, yeah, this is going to help. And the neat thing is as you've matured and as you've gone through a little bit more of your life, you do have that perspective now, and you do see how blessed you are for that to have happened to you. And
absolutely.
And knowing you, I know you pass on blessings and pray for people all the time. And I know that's the type of kid you are. I keep calling you a kid. You're not a kid anymore. So you had a little bit of success at Maryland, we'll say. And you've flown through, you flew through the organization there. Tell me a little bit about pro ball. Was it when you step into that first clubhouse, is it kind of the same feeling as when you were the freshman at Maryland?
Not at all. I think I stepped in that first, I stepped into the locker room that first time, and in the minor leagues, it was like, all right, this kid's here to take my job. And, once you get to your affiliates and stuff like that, you start to bond and, you're friends with everybody. But it was weird the first time that you get in there and cuts are made, and all of a sudden, you're looking up and you're like, that guy was drafted with me, and he got cut in his first spring training. That's so weird to think about. Right. And all this stuff kind of goes on, and then, I get to our affiliate, and looking around me. I'm like, God, I'm the smallest kid here. All these guys are hitting home runs.
What else is new?
Yeah. But, you know, just lost my perspective of who I was as a ball player for that low A year. And then, you know, thankfully who I was with, you know, Hunter Bledsoe being the agent that I was able to, you know, kind of fell into his lap almost. You know, I didn't think that I was going to go anywhere near, you know, the first 3 rounds of the draft. You know, I never thought it was going to be there. And then all of a sudden one day we got a phone call from the scout that was like, hey, would you go in rounds 1 through 3? And I was like, I'd go in any round. Like,
Hold on, please.
So I called my dad, and my dad was like, we have no idea what we're in and what to think either. So, you know, we started looking around for different agents, and I think we met with 6 agents in a week, something like that. And could not have made a better choice in going with the Bledsoe group. And, you know, they've done nothing but, I mean, dang near family at this point. And, you know, he tried to help me with some things. I was hard-headed and, you know, got to a point where, you know, I think I was hitting 200 at one point in the season. And I was like, something's not right. Thankfully, you know, I ended the year, my first year, in 248, I think was the number. And, you know, that seems to be the number that always sticks with me is, well, you sucked that year. It's time to figure it out. And that's when I went back to Nashville with, you know, my tail in between my legs and was like, you know what? You know more than me, Hunter. Teach me, you know, what I need to do. I'm all ears. And, you know, it's been pretty fun baseball since.
Yeah. You've actually, each stop after that, you really hit the ball. What was your favorite stop on your way to the big leagues? What was one of the, I guess, a couple of the bigger memories that you've had?
I go back to, you know, kind of the experience I've had going to each place. You know, I went to, you know, Port Charlotte in high A, and leading off the year, I was the 9-hole hitter. And, you know, halfway through the year, I'm hitting 315 with 9 home runs. I'm hitting 4-hole, and, you know, just kind of a crazy transition there. And then getting called up to Double-A and having a 10-hour drive to Montgomery from Port Charlotte, and being about 8 hours into the drive, and, you know, one of our buddies calling us and going, hey, where are you guys? And we're like, about an hour and a half, 2 hours out. And he goes, okay, you guys are starting tonight, by the way. And I got called up with Brett Sullivan, who is a catcher at the time, and we show up in 30 minutes before the game. The clubby throws us a uniform
After
and
a
tells us
10-hour drive.
And yeah, that was our first experience there, which always sticks with me because, you know, we're on the phone back and forth like, we can't stop. Like, you have to go, like, go faster. And there's not really any highways from about the panhandle of Florida to Montgomery. You know, It's not much highway. It's a little 2-lane roads.
Right.
We're stuck behind dump trucks and stuff like that. And, like, we got to get around these guys and doing anything that we could to get to this game on time. And then getting to Durham, I get in, you know, they're like, hey, we'll give you a hotel for 3 days.
Right.
And you got to find a place to live. And I'm calling everyone. Do you guys have an empty room? Can I live with you guys? Everyone's full, or, you know, the guys that got called up are paying an absurd amount for a hotel room because, you know, they have big league time. So, you know, that's not an absurd amount to them. Where I'm, my mom comes down to help me search for apartments.
Right.
I go play the game. She's out in Durham driving around to all these different apartments trying to find a place for me to live. End up finding a 2-bedroom apartment. And the only thing I have is a mattress pad and a table from the field that our clubby was going to throw away. So I was like, no, don't throw that thing. Don't throw it away. I'll throw it in the back of my truck. It's going to be my breakfast table. So I'm sleeping on a 2-inch mattress pad, and I'm eating off this table that's 5 inches off the ground. So I'm sitting on the ground eating a bowl of cereal in this apartment complex in AAA Durham, and that's one of the things that always, that screamed minor leagues to me, and it was weird that it happened at the highest level of minor leagues.
Right. I would have expected low A or something like that.
Yeah, it was
Port Charlotte or something like that. Yeah. So you didn't spend much time in too much time in the minor leagues, and tell us a little bit about your debut. What was the date?
August 5th, I think, is the day that I played. I think I got called up on the 4th, and I was nervous at every level that I got called up to, and it only amplified when I got there.
Yeah.
Made my debut as a left fielder.
Yep.
Which, going into spring training that year, as I'm driving down from Tennessee, one of our front office or head people call me and go, "Oh, hey, do you have an outfield glove?" It's like, "No." It's, "Oh, you might want to get one, by the way, because we're going to start trying you in the outfield." I'm like, well, I've never played the outfield. And they're like, "Yeah, we know. We're just going to try you out there and kind of see how you adapt to it out there." I'm like, "Okay." So I call Hunter. I'm like, "Hunter, I need an outfield glove tomorrow. I don't care if you have to go to Dick's, sporting goods to get it." And sure enough, the next couple of days, I had an outfield glove in my locker, and I think I played half of my games out there in the minor league. I think it was 50 and 50 between, left field and second base. And so I get the debut out there and standing next to Kiermaier, and he kind of comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, man, just want to let you know that if I call it, don't go near the ball." I was like, "Fine."
No problem.
I don't want it. If it's in left field, come over and take it. Like, I'm fine. I don't want to put out. Like, come over and take the ball. And thankfully, I don't. Oh no, I did have one hit to me.
Yeah.
God, I had a ground ball hit and had to play at the plate.
Yep.
So, me being a competitor, I'm like, I'm going to throw this guy out of the plate. This isn't going to happen to me. Not knowing how different the major league ball is from the minor league ball. I get it in my hand and promptly sail it 40 feet, the other direction to what I wanted to throw. And I looked down at my hand and I was like, I cannot believe I just did that. I get into the dugout and our outfield guy comes up to me and goes, "Hey, man, you got to hit the cut right there." I was just like, I know. I didn't want to throw it like that. And other than that, the debut is pretty uneventful. But thankful I had Madison there. I had my parents, my grandparents, and my uncle. Everyone was there, and it was great to have them there for that debut.
All right. So speaking of Madison, do you remember? It was a text I sent you asking, because not everybody knows she played softball in Maryland. And I sent you a text and asked you if Madison could hit the ball harder than you or hit the ball farther than you. And I think I still have it in my phone because your answer was totally you. No, does your daughter hit the ball farther than you? So competitive, right back at you. And I loved it. I thought it was great. So I saw her on your social media, her dotting you up on some balls. She didn't like hitting the ball back at her. What's going on there?
No, it's that's what we're at the point in baseball right now is we can't go to the field. We have no coaches or anything to throw BP, and I can only hit off a tee for so long without seeing some kind of pitch getting thrown. So we've had these anywhere balls that are really squishy, can't hurt anything or anything like that, and if you grip them too tight, they'll move like crazy.
Right.
So she gripped a little too hard on the middle finger or something like that and threw an absolute Mariano Rivera cutter on me and threw it off it hit me in like the forearm, and I thought it was going to be like fastball down the middle. And
right.
No, it's just it's great to have her to be able to do that kind of stuff with me, because you have other people that are just hitting off a tee and stuff like that, where it's nice that I can go up to my wife and be like, hey, throw me BP.
Yeah, and then she goes out and wins, I think, the MVP of the Lives game, the softball game. Yeah.
And not even – I don't know that she got out once. I had to let my dog back in.
That's good, man. So you've been overlooked really up until – I saw him last year. You hit a jack last year. And upper deck early in the season. I mean, you had an awesome season brewing last year. The power has come. You're a power hitter now, just about. I mean, you've gotten bigger, stronger, and you hit a ball in the upper deck. And I don't know if you saw the teammates' reaction, but I think it was Kiermaier turned to somebody else and said, "How does he do that?" Like. That power, man, has just come. I mean, is that just from, nutrition and working out and stuff like that? Or is there anything you're doing different there?
I mean, and I've told many people this, that the swing that you see now is leaps and bounds different than what I was in college, what I was in high school, everything like that. And that all goes back to Hunter Bledsoe and everything that he kind of teaches and stuff like that, because he's a wizard. He knows so much about hitting that it's almost an overload of information at times. So in my first year, I come in and I just hit 330 in the Big Ten. I was first team all Big Ten. I knew how to hit. And he comes up to me and says, "No, I want you to do this." And I'm, "No, why would I change anything? I don't need to do that." So we butted heads for probably a month, back and forth. "I want you to do this." "No, I'm not going to do that." Finally, broke me down a little bit where, I tried to do some movement stuff and, kind of did it my own way and didn't really do it the real way to do it. And that's when I hit 240 in low A. I go back the following off season and really commit to it all. And, the main thing that I think about, when I tell people where all this power and stuff comes from, it's efficiency in the body, movement, and stuff like that, and storing energy properly, and then having intent to do damage on the baseball. I think you remember, as I never wanted to strike out when I was little, so I'd break down my swing to put a ball in play, and with no strikes or one strike on me. Now it's if you swing and miss on one pitch, so what? Now I can do damage on two other pitches, and and it was a big adjustment. It doesn't look terribly different than what I was, but everything that I'm focused on mentally, physically, and all that kind of stuff is just, it would be hours of me talking.
Right. No, and I agree. I can see some big differences in your swing, and you can tell the approach is somewhat still the same. I'm sure there's mental cues and things that you deal with, as you were saying. I mean, not to get too deep into it, but I saw, I think on the one where you were hitting last on Twitter, your hands looked like you were starting a little lower. Is that by design, or is that something you're working on?
My hands have always been, since I got into pro ball, they've been low. Mm-hmm. With everything that's kind of been coming out, the popular term you hear is that scap load and stuff like that. And it's along those lines that I couldn't do the scap load with my hands high. I was trying to find a position where I could do it in the most efficient way, and, found that down around my chest was like the perfect spot for my hands to be. And, it matched everything that I needed to do. And, that's kind of where they kind of gravitated, and where it's been since probably 2016.
Yeah. Okay. So we have two connections that I wanted to get into real quick, and this is just a personal thing, but I'm sure there's some good stories around it. Nathan Lowe. I don't know if you know, but I played with his dad in college.
Didn't know that.
And Josh, his little brother, he actually played for me on the Canes. So Nathaniel's just like his dad. So, yeah, he's a fun one to be around, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then Matty Q, Matt
Yeah.
Cutrero. Yeah. So, couple neat links there. Matty was a good one, and obviously very good at what he does right now. So,
Absolutely.
you get a chance, maybe offline, share some stories about both of those two, because I'm sure it's fun. But what kind of things, what kind of advice would you give to some of our Canes players? Like, again, we have some youth guys, and we have, still our high school guys. Some of them are high level, national, already scholarship in hand by, I coached 14 and under national last year. And I think we got 5 or 6 kids already committed that are in ninth grade this year. That's not you. But what kind of advice what kind of advice can you give to all of all the other guys, the guys that are still fighting for, to be recognized, still fighting to get a scholarship offer, and what can you give them?
I think my biggest thing is, like, don't freak out that, you haven't been committed yet. Just because, you have those, I always call them freak athletes. They're so good that they've gotten, they just grew earlier than you or something like that. I was small in ninth grade. I think I just broke 100 pounds. I was so small. I could barely hit the ball out of the infield. And a big thing was, like, not freaking out because you're playing with 6 or 7 guys that are committed to South Carolina or North Carolina or, those big, huge schools, because, it only takes one.
Right.
And, those guys that have 15, 16 offers on the table, they're going to one school. All that matters is that one team, that one school that takes their chance on you, and, not giving up. Like, just go to the yard every day, do what you got to do the extra work. And, someone's going to notice it. Someone's going to come along and take their chance on you, and, don't miss that chance.
Absolutely. You epitomize hard work, Brandon. Proud to say you're one of the guys from the 757. We have a handful of guys from this area that are, they're in pro ball. The one piece of advice that you gave there that I think is super important and that defines you is that hard work. We had to delay this because you were doing stuff. You were working and working in the yard, and you're not the one to sit down and spend your day or your weekend vegging out in front of a TV. You're the guy that's out doing something. You're out hitting. You're getting your wife to throw you BP, for goodness sakes. You're always working at something, and that's something that I've always appreciated about you, and that's something that's going to help turn you into a lifetime major leaguer. You're not happy with that status quo. You're not happy with just being okay. I think if you didn't get injured last year, you probably have been rookie of the year, but that's just me. That's not you saying it. That's me. What else? We've got some young guys, man. So back like when, 11, 12-year-olds, what can you tell those guys, man? Think back that far. That's a long time away, huh?
Enjoy it. That's the biggest thing, man. It's something I wish I would have known, like, back then, is I used to get so angry when I got out and stuff like that, and really just enjoy the time. You're playing a game, go out and win a couple championships, have fun with your teammates, enjoy where you're going. They're going incredible places now, playing tournaments all over the place. And I think that was, looking back, is I don't remember any of the days that I was playing. All of my memories or, stuff that I did with my teammates and stuff like that. And, what we did on this trip, or, whirly ball down in World Wood Bat.
Right.
And, just those experiences stick out now. It's like I couldn't go back and tell you what I did in World Wood Bat. Or I couldn't tell you what I did in, the USSSA tournaments, stuff like that. It's the more important stuff is, going out there, enjoying yourselves, having fun, having a good time, and, building those friendships, and, obviously going out and competing and, because everyone wants to win and stuff like that. But, winning's not the only thing.
Yeah. No, Brandon, those are great piece of advice. And I'm hoping that the parents that are listening to this really stick onto that last part, because I think the part that gets overlooked is, certainly we want to win. You want to be on a great team, all that. But really, you're like most of the guys that make it to your level is that, I remember having the good times. I remember having fun with my friends. We need to make sure that part stays in baseball. So I know that you've got a lot going on. I appreciate your time with us. I appreciate you representing us so well, not only the Canes, but 757. And, your parents are still here. So if you ever do anything bad, I'm sure they'll be there to correct you. And if it's not your sister coming down from RPI, coming to get you. But you know what, man, I appreciate you. You're great. You've always been a great kid. You've grown into a great man, and it's neat to follow you and your wife and your dog and follow your career. You're a very easy one to like. I think after this episode, you're going to have a lot more Canes kids that know who you are and really appreciate you. But, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you very much, and I enjoy our friendship, and I wish you nothing but the best. You deserve it because you've worked for it, and continue to work hard and do great things, buddy. If you ever need anything, we are, the entire Canes family's here for you, but go stay safe. And then when the lights turn back on, go get after it.
And wait, thank you.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Big shout out to B-Lowe for joining us. Please give him a follow on all social media channels at sweet_in_Lowe, Lowe 5, Sweet and Lowe 5. If you enjoyed this episode, like, comment, subscribe, review, and share. Give us a follow on social media at CaneCast Show. You can reach me directly on all social media channels at Rob Younce, or email me directly at robyounce@gmail.com. I welcome your feedback as I look to improve this show every single time. Stay safe, wash your